Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Saturday Night Sleepover. I'm your host, Charlie, and today we are joined by Mel. And we are learning today how to use a actual studio. So this may or may not be the best audio quality you have ever experienced with Saturday Night Sleepover because we are in a professional grade studio right now.
I'd feel really bad if it was the worst audio quality you've had so far.
I'm sure it'll be the best, 100%, because usually my setup is much more rudimentary than everything we just did.
Yeah, I'm confident in what we've done. I'm confident in the microphones and the space. I've never recorded in this space, so I'm excited.
Yay. And okay, so we are currently at Fayetteville Public Library using the Fayetteville Public Library studio, and I just got a crash course in how to set up their like state-of-the-art recording studio to record a podcast, and that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, you just learned a new skill today.
Yes. Well, brushed off the rust on some skills that I already had, and then like with the new unupdated technology, the last time I did in-depth setup like this was 10 years ago. So technology advances a lot, but some things stay the same, like XLR cables.
Yeah, you're a master at wrapping them. Well done.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Passed your first challenge.
How was your day today?
Pretty good. I woke up early for maybe the first time in like a decade. I'm not a morning person.
Same.
I'm trying to become one though. And I feel like I've been dragging it out for a really long time. So somehow this morning I woke up before 6 a.m.
Wow.
And actually got up. See, I've had this alarm set at like 5:45 for the last 10 years. And I'm always hopeful that I'll maybe be a different person that next day and I'll wake up early, and it hasn't happened until today.
Wow.
So I'm pretty excited.
Were you just nervous for today?
I wasn't nervous for today. See, I just recently signed up for CrossFit.
Oh. You're trying to be a morning person and a CrossFit person all at once?
So I used to be a CrossFit person years ago, before COVID, and I fell out of that, moved to Northwest Arkansas, and now I'm trying to get back into a routine again and maybe meet people because I'm so consumed with work, it feels like.
I understand.
So I'm trying to there's morning classes. Mind you, I did not make it to the morning class like I had hoped for.
You were awake for it, though.
But I was awake for it, and that's just the first step. Wake
Small
up
bites.
early. Yes, exactly. Exactly. So here we are. I had an accomplishment today. I'll take what I can get at this point.
Anytime anybody asks me if I'm a morning person, I famously say, my body makes all of my melatonin in the morning. I've been tested.
Does it really?
It really does. So I do not make enough melatonin at night to go to sleep, and then I wake up in the morning and it's all there. So I'm more of an evening person than
like chemically, biologically,
yeah. I think you might have the same problem.
Honestly, yeah, that might be my problem. Why? How'd you learn this? That's really interesting.
So first of all, you're going to have to take it with a grain of salt because it's a hippie thing. But I went to a naturopathic doctor who prescribed me a test where I just spit into a tube at different times of the day and then sent it into a lab. And they registered my hormones throughout the day, not just because if you do a lab job to do your hormones, it's like a snapshot of that moment of that day. But if you space it out throughout different parts of the day, then it gives you a more detailed picture of what your hormones actually are. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. And I've done the test, I think 2 or 3 times, and every single time it came back as melatonin in the morning. And the first time I thought I threw it off because I'd had pistachios for breakfast. And did you know that pistachios are basically melatonin?
No.
Yeah.
No.
That's like their main ingredient, basically.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I just made a pistachio pesto a few days ago, and I've been eating on that for like 4 or 5 days straight.
That sounds delicious.
Maybe I'm wondering now if it's making me tired.
Maybe.
I took one of those 23andMe tests years ago, and it told me that I'm more naturally inclined to be a night person. So I wonder if it tested something similar.
Probably something similar. Maybe your melatonin levels or something.
maybe.
I don't know. You never know what you're going to get with those 23andMe tests. However, I'm the one that spit in a tube for 4 times a day or whatever too. So I'm just as guilty in a different way.
I'm waiting to
can
hear
can never commit crimes.
I'm hoping something weird happened with my DNA sample. Like they cloned me. There's like evil me's out there or something else even strange, like a bionic me. They've like taken my DNA, created a clone, and created like a Terminator version or something.
I'm okay. The Terminator version probably would be a CrossFit person.
Sarah Connor. Remember her? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Working out, doing pull-ups. Shit. It just all came together.
Yeah, it did. So, yeah, you set that up. I didn't even have to. It just took it out of right out your hand.
Oh, great. Good
So
times.
Anyway, you did not go to CrossFit, but you have a plan to go to CrossFit later?
Yeah, I'm going to go on my lunch break, actually. That's where I have to be out of
very
here at a
nice.
certain time. I got to make it work.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm just throwing money away again. I tend to do that.
I do too.
I have these like delusions of grandeur, and I like I go all in the beginning, and then I find myself a month or two later, like I never rode that bike, or I've never used that exercise equipment. My Peloton is a great example.
Oh, you have a Peloton?
Yeah.
And the subscription service?
I did up until last month. I finally canceled the subscription last month after not using that thing for like 3 or 4 months.
Wow.
I make a lot of bad
Well, I've
financials.
always been curious about Peloton because I always see the clips of the classes come up on my feeds.
It's cool. I like it. I mean, when I do it, I like it a lot. I have pretty bad ADHD. And if that's not obvious after a morning together setting up the studio.
I'm not mad about it.
So yeah, I tend to go all in on things and then like lose interest. Like the initial dopamine rush of getting into something new and getting excited about it is great. And then that tapers away usually pretty quickly. But the Peloton's really cool, actually. The classes are great. It's just, if you're not using it, then why am I paying for it? And it's like $50 a month.
Yeah, and
kind of
that's
expensive.
basically, well, I don't know what the going rate of CrossFit is, obviously. I've never done it.
It's more than that. It's like twice as much as that.
Dang. Well,
Yeah, I'm hoping that the fact that there's humans involved with CrossFit will hold me accountable. I just need an accountability buddy. Like I'm trying to get active again to like soothe my brain, like
fair.
get me some natural good endorphins and chemicals flowing and help.
Endorphins make you happy, and happy people don't kill their husbands.
There you go. Yeah, kind of like push down any depression that's trying to like rise up or any anxiety. Like when I was more active, when I lived in Colorado, I was just generally a lot happier of a person. So I'm trying to figure that out here in Arkansas.
And there's lots of opportunity too, especially if you're an outdoors person, to find something outdoors to
Well,
do.
I moved here for mountain biking. That was, my job. I moved here for a new job, but I also moved here for mountain biking. The trails here are really great. The advocacy groups are really great. The fact that I can, I live in Springdale. The fact that I can ride my bike all the way to Fayetteville without
That's
having
pretty
to be
impressive.
on the road
And
is great.
especially if you have to, that in itself is incentive not to deal with Springdale traffic, which is what I figured out this morning, that it's a nightmare.
Yes, it is. Some days are better than others, but yeah, you came at just that sweet spot when I'm usually often rolling into work. It's right around the time you're probably driving through. But it gets really, really backed up, and people are mean and out of their minds. I have a near-death experience almost every day that I'm driving to work.
Oh, dang.
When I'm on the bike, I don't have those experiences, luckily.
Wow.
Yeah, it's rough out there.
That's the opposite of what you would expect.
Yeah, but it's because of the infrastructure here, right? I can ride the Razorback pretty much the entirety of my ride, which is
awesome.
lovely.
That is awesome.
You don't have that everywhere. That's one of those nice special things about Arkansas.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
It sounds like you maybe miss Colorado a little bit.
I do. Yeah, I do. And I'm really trying to find all the great things in Arkansas and trying to embrace Arkansas. When I moved here, I dragged my husband along with me. And so first I came out here, you didn't ask for the whole background, but it all makes a little bit of sense. Here it is. I first came out here for the very first Grit Mountain Bike Festival, which is a really great local festival. And it's for women, trans, femmes, all kinds of folks. And it's just a great place to come together, meet new people, ride bikes. And I really liked their motto of like, oh gosh, I'm probably going to butcher it, but it was like, any bike's a good bike, essentially. Like, we don't care what kind of bike you're on. We just want to be together and ride bikes. And I'm like, that's really inspiring. And in fact, I heard about it on a podcast called Bikes or Death. The girl, the awesome women who started that bike festival were being interviewed on that podcast. I heard about it. And I thought, like, let's drive to Colorado or from Colorado to Arkansas, go to this mountain bike festival by myself. And when I came out here, I thought this is a really beautiful area. It was the festival was being held at Mount Kessler Park down there, here in Fayetteville. And it was really beautiful. Everybody was super nice. Fayetteville has this like funky quirkiness to it that reminded me of Boulder back in the day.
Similar.
Yeah, like a small little kitschy, cute Boulder.
I've also heard it described as Brooklyn in 2013.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense too. But that's what I liked about this area. And then I went home and I told my husband that we should go out to Arkansas and look around. Let's go mountain bike out there. It was really great. And he said okay, yeah, I'll do that. But I know what you're doing. He's like, I know that you're thinking about moving and we're not moving to Arkansas. I'll go visit, but we're not moving to Arkansas. And I says, okay. And so we came out here like the next year, I think the next fall. And we went to Eureka Springs. We rented a place in Bentonville where we could ride our bikes from the house all over town to the trails. We just had a really great week of biking. And, he kind of was like, this isn't that bad, actually. This is pretty good. And we kind of looked at home prices compared to Denver where we were at.
Yeah, Denver is out of control.
Oh, my gosh. Like, wow. Oh, my God. We got priced out so fast.
Yeah, right.
I was in Colorado for about 11 years. And I got priced out in the last 3 or 4 years that I was there probably. So we moved out here and we had a 5-year plan. I got my job. He works remotely and we have a 5-year plan. And I'm in year 4 right now.
Oh, so you're starting to make decisions.
Just started year 4 in January. And so, yeah, we're at the point of where it's time to make decisions, but this area is growing on me for sure. We really have been enjoying the rivers and the lakes of Arkansas, and we do love the mountain biking. The ticks are a problem.
Yeah, they're terrifying.
They're scary. Yeah, they're super scary. I know many people who have that.
Alpha-gal.
Yes. I guess we have the highest rate of alpha-gal in any state.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And my husband works in a job where he gets ticks all the time and he's already type 1 diabetic. So he's like, if I get alpha-gal and I can't have anything anymore.
No. And I was, there's a local woman here who owns a barbecue joint and she got the alpha-gal.
That's the worst job to have.
No, she can't even work because breathing in the fumes, I guess the meat burn, triggers her allergy.
Yeah.
And it's been a nightmare for her, it sounds like. But yeah, the ticks are a problem. So I don't know. We're figuring things out. I do miss Colorado though. That was a very long way of saying, yeah, I miss Colorado. By also saying this wasn't planning to be permanent, but
pros, bike paths, cons, ticks.
Pretty much.
So if you can stay out of the ticks, you're golden.
But they're just getting worse. I've been reading about them.
Although there is going to be a medical school here. Maybe they'll study alpha-gal there.
Yeah, is that the one up in Bentonville? The Alice Walton Whole Health Institute, I think they're calling it.
The fancy name more than I do. I just know that it's really, they're taking a different approach. The plan is to take a very different approach to healthcare and integrating way different ideas, like the effects of art on health and stuff like that.
That tracks.
Yeah.
And knowing who's developing this medical school, which the Waltons developing a medical school is wild. That's interesting. I'm curious to see what's going to come of it.
Yeah, me too. The only thing I know is that it's happening and it's going to be flipping medicine on its head. Those are the things I know.
Hey, it's probably
maybe they'll study alpha-gal.
I hope so.
And then we'll find a cure here because we have plenty of control group.
Dude, for real, it's rough.
Yeah. Anyway, so you're making decisions and...
Yeah, we're making decisions. I like my job a lot. I have a fun job. But I also keep considering, where are we going to go? We got priced out of the part of Colorado that we love. We could go to the western part of Colorado, which is pretty much the desert.
Like Grand Junction area.
Yeah, Grand Junction. I love Grand Junction
I almost
too,
moved
though.
to Grand Junction.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Once upon a time.
I'd love to live there. But we'll see. I don't know. I think we're going to have some tough conversations coming up toward the end of the year next year, because I know that he really wants to. He definitely wants to leave more than I do.
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, he's from Germany. He grew up in Germany, and he's not used to the humidity.
Okay.
Not used to the weather.
They don't have humidity in Germany?
Not this bad. No. No. He's more from like he's Bavarian, so he's from southern Germany with all the mountains and hills and stuff.
So similar to Colorado.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that's how they wound up in Colorado.
Maybe New Mexico.
Yeah, New Mexico's interesting. A lot of art, a lot of good biking. Yeah.
And mountain/deserts.
Yeah, a little bit of everything, honestly. Anywhere in the West would probably make us happy, but it's so expensive.
Yeah, it's getting crazy. I think what my layman's take on the economy of the West Coast is that California was so out of control with their pricing, and then regular houses are selling for $1 million, and so then they sell and then move somewhere else and buy for half that and not work. So a regular job is $13 an hour and a house is $500,000.
That's wild. Yeah, that's a lot of what happened to Colorado. Was folks on the West Coast, Seattle, Portland, all over California, were selling their houses, walking away with nearly $500,000 profit, if not more, and then buying homes cash in Colorado and raising the prices of. I mean, a lot of things went into it, of course, but that's one that I could see regularly, meeting new people all the time from California.
Yeah, my dad is like from Colorado, in the way that like in the place where the apartment where my sister lived was where his horse pasture was. Like he is when he was a kid.
Oh yeah.
And so like he has seen all of the growth in Colorado, like crazy, and so he talks about that all the time.
Is your dad local in Arkansas?
No, he lives in Colorado.
Oh, still in Colorado. Good for him.
Yeah. He is hanging on to his house.
Good for him. I see the same thing happening here in Northwest Arkansas that I watched happen to Colorado over the last decade. This really rapid growth, this investment in tech startups, a lot of nonprofits in this region for sure, it happened again. Like one of the reasons I moved out here was I kept seeing that this region kept popping up on that top 10 list of places to live in the country. I'm like, that can't be bad when it's clustered up there with all of these Colorado towns too.
Yeah, right.
So, but I can see it happening here also, and I think the more the word gets out, the more the people are gonna.
They say by 2040 we're supposed to have 1 million people here.
Wow,
that's what the prediction is.
So that would be double. Right? Are we around 500,000 right now for the region?
Well, I think, okay, so like Fayetteville has 100,000, Springdale has 100,000 roughly. And then Bentonville and Rogers, what do you think those are? Like 50 each?
I'd say more than that. And I probably 70 or 80 each, I bet.
Yeah. So we're around 500,000 with all the like outcropping smaller towns of 20 and 15 and 5.
Yeah. Good point.
So
how'd you fare in the tornadoes?
We lost power for like basically 24 hours, and so we had to keep insulin cold, and we had to take cold showers, and use our tornado shelter, but nothing damaged our house. Like my flowers still have roses on it, which is like, or my rose bushes still have flowers on it. That's which is nice. Crazy considering the intense damage I've seen around the area.
That's nice. That's scary. I'm glad you have a storm shelter.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. That was one of the things that whenever I was like looking for a house, I was like, what are things that are important to me? Tornado shelter.
Good for you. When I first was starting my new job, they were going over like fire drills and how to handle tornado warnings for this area. And I guess people may have seen like the terrified look on my face, and they all came to me and said, "Don't worry. We hardly ever have tornadoes here."
Yeah.
I've been like peripheral to several of them now. Peripheral. I don't know, that's probably not the right word. Adjacent. Very close.
Yeah.
That one in Springdale a couple of years ago was just like maybe a mile from our house. And then these up in Bentonville, and there's one that went through Lowell too. It wasn't very far from where I'm at either. So I think they're all liars. And I don't like that I'm watching this like Tornado Alley kind of shift to the east and the south. And that's troubling, man.
Yeah.
We're not ready for it.
Is there any way to be ready for a tornado?
No.
Other than a shelter?
No, well, the shelters, yeah, and all these trees. Oh my.
Yeah.
I didn't realize the trees just fall like that. I'm learning so many things that are going to haunt my nightmares.
Where did you grow up? Did you not have any?
So, fun fact, I grew up in Central Florida. Oh, you want to hear a story? Oh, this is a good one.
Here we go. I'm
oh
ready.
Yeah, so hurricanes. Hurricanes are fine because you see them coming. They're coming. You can plan way ahead. If any, like I used to surf when I was a young person in Florida, so I would just like hunt the hurricanes like before the storm came and then after the storm came and go surfing. You'd make a thing out of it if it wasn't going to kill a bunch of people at least. But I grew up in a really weird place in Florida. If you thought Florida's weird, wait till you hear where I'm from.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
You're a Florida woman?
I am. My coworkers, yes, they call me that. I'm their resident Florida woman. So I grew up in this town just outside of Tampa, about 20, 30 minutes south of Tampa. It's called Gibsonton.
Okay.
And what's really unique about this town is it became like the hub for folks in the circus.
Ooh,
but
okay.
not just the regular circus folk, and I'm probably not politically correct when I'm saying this, but I don't have a better term for it. This is where all the folks who were part of the freak show would live, and they would retire there. So it wasn't very...
Freak show retirement community.
It really, it was and it is to this day. What's really interesting is it wouldn't be uncommon. I mean, it was an everyday occurrence to like walk down the street and like your neighbors have a Ferris wheel and a cotton candy stand, maybe a cage of monkeys, or I knew some.
This sounds amazing.
It gets less charming as I go. I knew some people in high school who had like one person had like an elephant and some lions, and but what was really interesting were the actual like personalities and characters there. At one point, my neighbor was the bearded lady.
Okay.
In the town, we had a giant. His name was Mr. Tomani. He was like over 7 feet tall.
That's awesome.
Mr. Tomani was married to Mrs. Tomani, who was the half lady. She got around on a skateboard mostly because she was just all torso and arms.
Okay. That's interesting pair.
Yeah. Earlier in the area's history, at one point, like Mr. Tomani the giant, I always get these backward, I think he was the fire chief and a little person was the police chief.
Okay.
Our U.S. Post Office had the first lowered counters in the country. So they built the post office with lower counters so the population of little people could easily access postal services.
It's getting more and more charming. You said it was going to get less charming.
And then there is the infamous Lobster Boy and his family. And when I was a little kid, like probably around kindergarten age, we lived next door to some lovely people. I was friends with a little girl that lives next door. But her brother murdered Lobster Boy in a murder for hire.
Okay, it's not charming anymore.
No, it happened so fast. He murdered Lobster Boy in a murder for hire. Lobster Boy's wife convinced him, she paid him like $1,500 to kill Lobster Boy because he was wildly abusive. Like he beat his wife, beat his kids. There's like videos of it out there, probably still to this day. So the story goes that my neighbor, whose name was Chris, he's served his time since then, as far as I know, and made it out of prison a number of years ago. Every time I go back to Florida, I run into his mom usually. She's a very lovely lady. Just kind of see her around town. But he got paid about $1,200, $1,500 or something, and then spent the money and said like, hey, I'm not going to kill your husband. Like, you're crazy. And then she's like, well, I'm going to kill your sister if you don't kill my husband. So he went and killed her husband. But that's just
so much
that's
murder.
The story that you hear locally, right? So there was a lot of murder.
You could start a podcast on that whole thing.
I write a lot about Gibsonton. I write some fictional stuff. I write some nonfiction stuff. I think about a documentary all the time, but it already exists.
Really?
Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's been a documentary made about this town. In fact, couple of years ago, I was here in Arkansas. I was like out sick one day and I was watching some garbage TV. And as we do, and I found like a true crime docu-series on Hulu. I think it was the very first episode was about the Lobster Boy murders.
Oh, okay.
Which is wild, like watching TV and like, oh,
that's my neighbor.
That's my neighbor. I know this whole story. And in fact, there was a whole season of American Horror Story.
Okay.
That was based on my town. It was the Freak Show season.
Okay.
And there was an episode of The X-Files that was also based on this town of Gibsonton. But it's not that charming. Like, you know, as these seasonal people come in and out of town, they also bring seasonal weirdos with them and criminals. So like the early and mid 90s was not as Tampa in general, Florida. I mean, a lot of missing kids in Florida in the early and mid 90s. I mean, I'm not going to say it was these people directly, but there's a lot of people missing in that region. My mom was privy to like 2 child murders. Like she knew like one guy that murdered someone. Like she's like, I knew that guy when I was a kid. My dad used to bring him around. He was friends with my dad. And then another one, oh my gosh, she would hate that I'm telling this story. And then another one, she had like met this dude one night through some friends and you know, just chit-chatted for a little bit, and then he left that night and like went off and murdered somebody. So she had to be a witness so yeah, it's not charming.
Wow.
And I will say that we are not the carnival people. Like my family, we're not part of that. So it's kind of like an outsider, but I'm also an insider just kind of watching it all happen.
Yeah.
We just kind of happen to wind up there.
Like the stage tech of the carnival.
Yeah, sure. Sure. Yeah, but that's Gibsonton, Florida.
Well, I also grew up in a town that has been written about and like shows are based off of it and stuff, but it's not. It's like the opposite of whatever that was. It's like Hallmark shows are based off of it, like Chesapeake Shores and did you ever watch the show Sweet Magnolias? No, it's on Netflix. It's very, very, very cheesy.
Oh, lovely. So where did you grow up then?
I grew up in Virginia in a small town, and there's an author from my town that her name's Cheryl Woods, and she writes about people in the town, changes their names and stuff.
What town? Well, I lived in Chesapeake for a while.
I grew up in a town called Colonial Beach. No one has ever heard of it.
I bet it was little.
It is
Was
very
it on
small.
the coast?
No, it was on the Potomac.
Oh, cool.
And so they have like all these, they call them necks in Virginia. And it was the gateway to the northern neck.
Oh, fancy.
Is what they would call
Cute.
Beach. But it was, it's like a place that people would buy a summer house. And they would work in Washington, D.C., and then they're like in the 50s and 60s, the wives would come down to the house in Washington, D.C., while the husbands worked in Washington, D.C. at the Pentagon and stuff.
Cool.
And then, so it was like somewhat of a resort community similar to where you grew up. But then like a hurricane came and took a lot of the infrastructure out. And so it kind of got... like post hurricane, not a lot of funding went to fixing a lot of things up, and so it by the time I was growing up, it was like everyone remembered the glory days. And
oh, that's sad.
Yeah, but the tourism with like Instagram and stuff, like it's come back because it's like a little secret that nobody knows about.
That's cute. So people, you know, influencers go out to take these wholesome photos and have these wholesome experiences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's cute.
And it's very quaint and cozy, and just what you expect in a Hallmark show with like real dramatic problems. Yeah. So that's
Town from Hallmark, and mine's like Town from horror movies.
Yeah. What was that? The Netflix show that you said, the Freak Show.
Oh, American Horror Story.
Yeah, American Horror Story. Yeah.
Yes, truly.
Versus Chesapeake Shores.
Truly.
Yeah, and Sweet Magnolias.
Yeah. Again, much more charming, geez, than where I'm from. Ah, interesting.
It's not without trouble, but
yeah, you can't go anywhere these days without trouble.
Yeah. So I grew up in Virginia, and then I always say that my husband grew up in Utah, and then Arkansas is somewhat of like a perfect baby.
Interesting.
Between Virginia and Utah.
That tracks.
Yeah.
I like Utah too.
Yeah. But the economy in Utah is crazy too. Mm-hmm. Same thing that happened to Colorado is happening in Utah.
It happened really fast. I used to live in Utah also. I bounced around for a little bit. But I used to live in Spanish Fork, Utah. Beautiful area. And there's like a little hidden natural hot springs up the canyon in Spanish Fork, but Instagram got it.
Yeah, Instagram gets it. That was the problem with Utah, is like there were all these like secret hidden local spots that like there's the national parks are just overrun with people, and so the locals would all go to like cool local spots that were the same as the national park, but not, and then you would geotag it on Instagram, and then before you know it, the people who were at the park were also at the cool spots.
Yep, I know exactly of one right outside of Zion.
Yeah,
and
is it Canaryville Falls?
No, it's Red Cliffs Recreation Area.
Yeah, I have a video of me like in the spring going down like a natural waterfall from there.
I know exactly where that is. Yeah. That used to be dead. When you'd go to Zion early in the morning and then the tourists start to come in, you'd leave Zion and go hang out at the Red Cliffs. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a nice area.
Yeah, I like that spot.
Now it's overrun.
I like it better than Zion for that reason, because it was dead and chill and cool.
Yeah, and they have like that area that they call the mini Narrows, which is like a very similar to the Narrows. And yeah, I'm man, I was there for part of the glory days. I feel like I was there like 11 years ago, 12 years ago, when I got to hike Angel's Landing when nobody else was there.
Yeah, same.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah,
man.
I did it in February.
Oh, scary!
It was so scary.
Oh my God!
Because it had like snowed and then frozen, and so if you're not familiar with Angel's Landing, picture a giant red rock, probably. How high would you say that was?
At least, a couple 100 feet at least, if not more.
Yeah,
probably
1,000 feet.
I don't know.
Probably 1,000 feet in the air. Let's just say that, even if we're being dramatic. And there comes a certain part of the hike where you are holding onto a chain and walking on about 6 inches of rock formation that's like jutted out from the rock. And down to your immediate side is
nothing.
A
sheer cliff.
A sheer cliff, 1,000 feet. And then when there's ice on that, there was a certain point where I had walked across it, and then we were walking back down, and the ice, my feet slipped, and I was just holding onto a chain, and I had to climb back up and finish the hike. And that was everyone else would be like, "Hey, do you want to go to Angel's Landing?" I said, "No, I had my experience. I'm done."
That's terrifying. Did you have like the micro spikes or any kind of traction on your feet?
Nope.
You're just winging it.
Just winging it. That's brave. That is how I typically make choices, is I just do it. And then, as Nike would say, and then I reap the consequences. And sometimes they're wonderful and sometimes they're not. I did the same thing for, there's a hike in Hawaii. This is illegal. Please don't arrest me. But it is called Stairway to Heaven. Have you ever heard of that hike?
I have, and I heard that they are tearing it down.
Yeah. The government is trying to tear it down, but I am... I follow like an Instagram page that is like a nonprofit that is like trying to take the city to court to try and stop the destruction process. So it's getting torn down, but they're also having like hearings and stuff to say this is a historical landmark that we should be preserving, kind of a situation.
Yeah, and it's another one that fell victim to Instagram.
Yes, it fell, but I did it before it was cool. Yeah. And before Instagram and before geotags and all of that. I didn't geotag. I just took my pictures, and I was so scared that I was going to get arrested that there are no pictures of me on the internet, at least that you can see my face.
You've had a lot of adventures.
I have.
Do you have any that stand out, like any favorites?
Stairway was pretty crazy, and I liked that one a lot. I have a picture up on my wall of that one. I've done Havasupai too. Have you heard of that one?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Havasupai, it could be ruined by Instagram, but I think it is one that has maintained and benefited from those kinds of trends. Maybe I don't know. I'm not one to speak for the people that run it, but they have monetized it. Mm-hmm. So you have to wait in line on the internet and get a lottery even to just go, and so you have to pay a bunch of money to go. But I went with work, so I got to go for free.
Oh, nice. Yeah. And it's maintained. It's on tribal land, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's nice. So they're taking care of it.
Yeah, they're taking care of it, and like it's a dream to go to. But also, I did no training, and
It's a good
hike,
right?
They tell you it's 10 miles, but it is 15. It's 10 miles to the campsite and then 5 miles more to the falls.
Gotcha.
So, and once you get, have you ever done it before?
No, I haven't made it out there.
Once you get to the falls, you have to, you hike 10 miles down into the Grand Canyon, and then you set up camp, and then you hike 5 more miles to get to the falls. And then once you get to the top of the falls, you have to like climb through a cave down a ladder that is like probably 50-ish feet tall. And like, it's like a rope ladder that you don't know if it's been maintained or not. But then you get down there and it's beautiful and it's worth it. But it is definitely terrifying. You're like, I just hiked 15 miles and now I have to climb down this ladder that I don't know my legs are going to stay under me. But I did it.
I don't know why I didn't realize that it's in the bottom of the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Like, I knew that, but it didn't click until you just said you have to hike 10 miles down into the Grand Canyon. And then you have to hike 10 miles out.
Yes. Up
and out.
I personally believe that down was worse than up.
That happens for a lot of people. For some people, it hurts their knees.
Yeah, it hurt my knees. And I felt like the group that I was with, everybody wanted to just get there. And so I couldn't go at my own pace. I had to stay up with the pack. But then on the way out, I volunteered to take the group that wanted to take their time and start at 2 a.m, which was magical, actually, because we started out and then the other group that stayed behind took down camp and came later and hiked faster. But we hiked really super slow, and it's 2 a.m. and it's dark, and it's the most beautiful stars I've ever seen, because you can only see a sliver of them. You look up and it's the Grand Canyon. And so it's like looking at a sliver of stars, but there's zero light.
That's majestic.
Anyway, it was something to remember.
And something special about hiking at night where you can only see like where your headlamp is pointing or whatever you have is pointing. Something scary and also just like really peaceful about that.
Yeah.
I miss like, that's something we used to do a lot in Colorado, is like super early starts for hiking up mountains or going snowboarding or going mountain biking or something. We'd wake up well before dawn and like catch the sunrise at the top of the mountain so we could snowboard down it later. And when the sun comes up and like, softens the snow a little bit.
That's how I also did Stairway too. It was in the middle of the night, because this is the way that I did the illegal thing. But it's only illegal if you get caught.
You're not the only one.
So I did it on a Hawaiian holiday when I knew that the security guard would have the day off, and we did it in the middle of the night. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, that's how I.
So were you like up there at sunrise? Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were up there at sunrise,
amazing.
And that hike. So it goes up into the mountains of Hawaii, and there's like clouds that the mountains are higher than the clouds, and so Stairway is literally a ladder up a mountain, and there's some points where like it's like bridges across peaks basically, and so. Like you are up, like if you're that early in the morning and the sun is coming up, like the clouds and dew is still like lower than the mountain. So you're above the clouds, like watching the sunrise and like crossing this like bridge between peaks. It was like magical.
That's amazing.
But I did it on no sleep and no food.
But you
would not recommend. I'm still here, and I still have
though.
a magical memory. But
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't get torn down.
I hope so too. I donated to the nonprofit that is fighting for
That's
it.
Nice. So. That's nice. We don't want Instagram to ruin everything for us. Mm-hmm. And that's been around for a really long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like World War II, I think. It was originally a radio tower. And the main reason why they don't want to keep it is because they don't want to upkeep it, which I understand is somewhat of a cost. But also people would pay to do that hike. And then the other reason is parking. The head of the hike is in a neighborhood.
Gotcha. See, if they enacted some sort of reservation system, and they could like shuttle people up or something and they could make it accessible.
Or buy the house at the bottom.
Yeah.
And make it the welcome center or whatever.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I wonder what'll come of it.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Very cool.
But I am pro monetizing it and saving it. I think it's worth saving.
Absolutely. And sometimes you have to monetize it or create some sort of reservation system to preserve it. I mean, that's where we're at now.
Yeah.
All the great things in Colorado that I used to just walk up into are now like reservation only.
Yeah.
Same for California. Like a lot of the Big Sur, from what I was reading, you have to get like backpacking permits now to the Big Sur. And I mean, I'm
all
glad.
of everything in Utah is that way now.
Yeah, that tracks. That tracks. Yeah.
And it's mostly because people were there were no bathrooms, and people were using the bathroom in nature and like polluting the water systems that people actually live on.
Look, people are gross.
Yeah.
People are super gross. That was a couple of some of the most beautiful spots in Colorado. One being the Four Pass Loop, just a couple of years ago, got changed to a reservation only system because of people pooping. Yeah. Just openly, like on the trail. Like, people do not respect the leave no trace policy. That hike and the Conundrum Hot Springs hike, this beautiful hot springs, it's a natural hot springs. It's like a 10-mile hike out, but people were just like pooping all over the place. Like,
this is why we can't have nice things.
Thank you. You took the words from my mouth. Yes, this is exactly why. People are gross. It's like, I want to rub their noses in it, like a really bad dog. Yeah. I would never do that to my dog, but I would do it to a person if I could. For sure.
Fair.
My dog's only ever a good girl.
What is one of your favorite adventures you've been on?
Last year, I went to had to get some minor surgery in Phoenix, and so we went to Colorado to drop off my dog to my in-laws, the dog sitter, and we went to Telluride to climb/hike a Via Ferrata route.
Okay.
So,
what does it look like?
Yeah, if you're not familiar with Via Ferrata, it's you're climbing either on it's the side of a mountain. It's a side of a cliff. So like a big mountain.
So like Angel's Landing
on the cliff.
Somewhat.
Kind of like Angel's Landing. I'd argue a little bit more terrifying. Instead of fixed chains, there are fixed cables the entire route. And you have to wear your climbing harness. Okay. You have to wear what's called a Via Ferrata lanyard, which is like a special shock-enabled tie-off that has 2 points of contact. So you have you have 2 ropes coming out of your harness, and each one has a carabiner on it because you have to have one clipped into this cable every second that you're on it. At some points, you're not even on the rock anymore. You're hanging off the mountain on pieces of rebar. Okay. So like little small pieces of rebar that you step on and grab, like a ladder, essentially, built throughout. But it's not a ladder. They're all awkwardly positioned. And so you're kind of going up the mountain and then down the side of the mountain, but you're like on it, clipping, unclipping as you go. That's and intense. It's hundreds of feet below for sure. And it was the scariest thing I've ever done. Yeah. Fair. For sure. It was something that we've been trying to do for a number of years, and I'm glad that we finally got a chance to do it. A lot of people hire a guide, but we're overly confident like you are. And we just winged it. We've had the gear for a really long time because we wanted to do this a number of years ago. And we finally got to do it. It was beautiful, but it was the scariest thing I've ever done.
And then you go have surgery, yay.
And then I went and had surgery and, kept living off of that, like, adrenaline rush for a little bit. That was fun. I'd like to do it again. In the moment, I was like, I'm never doing this again.
Yes.
That's
how I felt about Havasupai. I did it in 2016. I'm still not ready to go back.
Oh, my gosh. You've been a little traumatized. Just a little bit. Yeah. It's scary. That's hard. I mean, that's hard. Hard is hard. Yeah. The Via Ferrata was hard too. It was just like the deer legs and Bambi legs shaking as you're going on things. And I'm not afraid of heights, although in my dreams I'm afraid of heights. So I don't know what that's about. But in real life I'm not usually afraid of heights, but that one got me. You're just suspended.
Somebody Google what does heights mean in dreams.
Yeah. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to get into my psyche too deep and see what's actually in there. I really don't. Yeah.
Fair. Anyway, that seems like a pretty good pausing point. Is there anything else that you wanted to add that you didn't get to add?
Oh, no, not really. This was lovely.
Yay. Okay. One question that I usually ask, and I should have given you a heads up about, but I didn't, is if you want people to find you, where can they find you? If you do not want people to find you, what can people find that you want people to find?
Oh, yeah, you can find me. I need more friends in Arkansas. So find me on Instagram. I am Mel Rebelle 1, I believe. MELREBELLE 1 on
Nice.
Instagram.
Very nice.
Yeah, find me on
And
Instagram.
she's looking for friends. So
I need friends. I need to get out more.
I have good ones, so I can point you in the right
Share.
direction.
Yes,
We'll
I
share.
love that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Thanks,
Anyway,
Charlie.
This is lovely and fun. And all right, so I'll do the podcaster ending thing and say, like, share, follow, go to sleepoverpod.com and share it with your friends, and let's be friends with Mel.
Yay.
Yay! Okay, but love you. Bye.